Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of Citizens Fiber.
Welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. Here now is your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce.
Hello and welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections. I'm your host, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce, Chad Amond. I'm happy to have on the show today Tom Harrold. He is a volunteer for Baltzer Meyer Historical Society. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, and good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. Tell the listeners your background and why you got into Baltzer Meyer Historical Society.
Well, Baltzer Meyer Historical Society sits inside of the area that was known as Good Purpose many years ago, almost 200 years ago. And we were out there by the Harrold schools, and my last name happens to be Harrold.
Yes.
So it was of interest to me, and as I got to study the name, I found out that I was 8th generation in Westmoreland County. So it's my honor to represent the family, and I'm doing exactly probably what I was supposed to do anyway. When we had started, we had restored the one-room schoolhouse, and my background was always in construction. So I was part of the crew that was in charge of the restoration work, and it also happens to have my last name to it. So I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing according to somebody, and have enjoyed the last 25 years of working around that whole situation.
So what is your title?
I'm actually now the president of Baltzer Meyer Historical Society. I have been treasurer, I've been vice president, I've been director of restoration, and I've been just a volunteer. And they've got their money's worth out of me, seeing as how we do everything for free.
Oh, yeah. Well, what is your background for working and stuff like that?
Well, my background is in construction. I ended up as a project manager of a development company, and then working backwards, I worked as a carpenter. I am also third generation that has built their own home, so I come pretty by doing what I do naturally as far as construction parts. They put a hammer in my hand about the age of 10. We worked on my father's house, building it, my grandfather's house, and my house, and I lived across the street from my great-grandfather. So, again, I'm doing what I was supposed to do.
Well, you're working hard. You're not working 24/7, it's 25/8, right?
Right now, yes. I have more things going on than I did when I was working a full-time job, because I'm also involved in a couple other organizations, and then the side trips to your organization and other ones all require some show of support and being there to make the operation work. But it has a lot to do with being a resident of the county, and it is our community, my community, to take care of. So most ask that, why do I do that? The driving force is, it's my community.
Yeah, and you brought up you're the 8th generation of Westmoreland County. I think Westmoreland County started in 1740, right? Just
about then. The first relative here was part of the supply train, or the supply route for Connor Weiser and the Bouquet and all those people. They were part of that group of Germans who were asked by Benjamin Franklin to do that as far as bringing their wagons and supplies for those armies here to Westmoreland County, and they had bivouacked right in the Greensburg area at all times. So, again, we've been here for quite a while. He is buried right out there at the St. John's, by the St. John's Church in that area close to the Harrold churches. So,
wow.
He was named as the Defender of the Frontier by the DAR in 1922, and they have a plaque on his tombstone. So, and I didn't find all this out until about halfway through the restoration of the schoolhouse. So it has been quite a journey for me to get this information and put it to use.
Wow, that gives me goosebumps. You have the family in, 1740. It started in Westmoreland County. That's.
Yeah, we were. They came to the United States 1743, and by 1750, they were definitely part of the supply systems for all those people here.
So, what is the mission of Baltzer Meyer Historical Society?
Baltzer Meyer is named after the first school teacher west of the Alleghenies, according to the Lutheran Church. And there happens to be a monument right out by the school that says so. So we are virtually to be the people who maintain the records of the residents of Westmoreland County and to tell their stories and history. As you well know, Westmoreland County is not made up of just one particular group of people, and it doesn't have one particular great hero who helped set everything in place. It has always been the county residents bonding together to come to a resolution on how to build their communities. And it doesn't matter which one you're in. When you look at their history, they do that. And that's what we do, is we preserve those history parts with our artifacts and our records to present those to the future.
That's a good thing. For Westmoreland County, many people work together.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good thing to have.
Yeah, but it's been that way. Again, studying the history, you find that things dropped between the people as far as what particular country they came from or where they were from what part of the world. Greensburg was built as a trade center for the fact that we were at the crossroads of many roads that came through to get to Pittsburgh. And for that, we were the ones who were fixing and repairing wagons and kept the horses and did all those things. We're also very good at making whiskey also.
Yeah.
So there was
That's a
whole,
good thing, right?
Yeah, and the other part is people ask why Greensburg has so many car dealerships. And the part of it is that we had so many wagon people who needed some sort of income, and they knew transportation, so cars made perfectly good sense. So hence we became that part. But we were also very good at doing leather. And the other sidebar of that is that we were also cultural in the fact that the travelers needed entertainment, so we became that part, having early entertainment and culture in the area to keep the travelers entertained while they were waiting for the next day to be able to make the travel. So Greensburg became that part. Just as other parts of Westmoreland County became theirs because of their environment where they were at.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. Our guest today is Tom Harrold. He is the president of Baltzer Meyer Historical Society. From your perspective, Tom, what is the best thing that your organization has done for positive impact on Westmoreland County?
Again, for us, we started off as a genealogy group, and we maintain the records of those families and the history of the area. So we maintain a library that is now somewhere around 8,000 books alone. We also maintain a file system of 1,200 families that we share with other people as they come into the area. We are now starting to get into the educational part, working with Hempfield Township. And the other part that we do that's really a neat one is the one-room schoolhouse is used by Hempfield High School or Hempfield systems for their third grade classes. We are now going into, I believe, our 13th year or 12th year of having all the third grade classes come to the schoolhouse and spend a day as if they were in the 1880s and being taught all those things, including some of the games. They've learned how to play marbles and jacks. They have books from that particular period and are taught that way. So that in itself allows us to do that. So if you ask me that and I put it into a few words, it would be to educate both the population and the students of the community of what our history is of this area.
So the one-room schoolhouse didn't have Xbox in the past, right?
It did not, but it does have heat, running water instead of the two-bowl outdoor toilet that sat close to there, and electricity. So you might be able to run an Xbox there, but I would not let the teacher catch you doing that.
Yeah. So you brought up several buildings. How many buildings do you have, and where are the buildings?
The buildings are very well located for us. We are actually located on Baltzer Meyer Pike, right off of Route 136, very close to Hempfield High School and the Harrold Junior High. We are right in the middle of what is known as the Harrold cemeteries, and in reality, there are about 4 cemeteries there. So we're about 3.5 miles outside of Greensburg, west on 136, and just off of there. We finally got on the map of Google, so we can be found now.
Oh, good.
And we own 2 buildings. We own the one-room schoolhouse built in 1881, and it is the 4th of 5 schools named Harrold in Hempfield Township. And then we also own the old Zion Lutheran Church, which is about 12,000 square feet of space in there. So we are beginning to get to utilize that besides the library.
And when was Harrold Schoolhouse built?
It was built in 1881 by a man named Benjamin Eisenman for the cost of $1,250.
Wow.
And the brick were fired right there on the property. It has some very unique structural things to it. It is a 30-foot wide by 40-foot wide long building. And it is now open to not only being used as a one-room schoolhouse, but we can also use it as an event center to have small meetings or a party of around 40 to 50 people. We've had a couple meetings with the insurance companies. We've had a bridal shower there and a birthday party, and we've had a couple people get married there.
Well, and when was Zion Lutheran Church built?
The first Zion Lutheran Church was built in the 1750s.
Oh.
And it was a log home or a log cabin, and it was used both as a church and a schoolhouse. To the early population, education was the premier thing. And if you look at the Fort Allen petition, almost all the 60 people who signed that with their own name. Few, if any, used an X to mark the spot, which indicated that we had people who had had an education enough to learn how to read and write.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is Westmoreland Community Connections on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. If you have a suggestion for a topic, or if your nonprofit organization would like to be featured on this program, call us during regular business hours at 724-216-1200.
Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of Citizens Fiber.
Welcome back. You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. Our guest today is Tom Harrold. He is the president of Baltzer Meyer Historical Society. Tom, do you publish books and stuff like that?
Yes. We publish over 130 books, and that's a continuing increase over the years. They are of the church records, cemetery records, some local history that's been written by some of the people and residents of the county, and then some of the journals from some of the pastors that have been in the county. And we're also open to helping other groups publish their booklet or a book that they've wanted to do. Again, it is a part of where we want to go with that. So we've been publishing for well over 25 years now.
Wow. How long has your organization been
We
in
have
place?
we're coming up on our 25th anniversary as the Historical Society. We had spent 2 years as a guild underneath Westmoreland Historical Society. And when we went to purchase or get the one-room schoolhouse, they decided that they would rather not be involved in owning a building, and we decided that we would become a 501 and own that building. So that's how we became that. So in reality, we've been actually running for almost 27 years as Baltzer Meyer something. Before it was the Historical Society, we were a guild. So, and we had almost everything that we have setting now. We had half of that at least intact as far as our possession of library and the publishing parts.
So how do you operate the library, and how do residents go to it?
They can, we operate on Monday from 10 till about 2 o'clock, and then on Wednesday from 2 o'clock till 6 p.m. Plus, we can be contacted if you have a special time that you would like to make an appointment. We are striving to open up more, but we really need to have some volunteers who would like to help operate or do the research. So we're open, but we could be open a lot more if we had the people to operate.
So residents can reach out to you and have, well, not a party, but a party? So,
well,
I mean, in the schoolhouse, and I mean, not a...
Well, we actually have another hall there inside of the old church building called, amazingly, Harrold Hall. And it will hold about 100 people. And we're open for being able to do family reunions, birthday parties, those kind of things. Or that you want to come in and do research. We also offer us to do the research at, I think it's $15 for the first hour and $10 for every hour after that. And again, we're holding records that are not on the internet and probably will never be unless something gets better at that. But the residents can contact us by just looking us up on the internet, because we're the only Baltzer Meyer in the world. So
Yeah, right.
you can't miss. We've looked at possibly changing it because Baltzer Meyer is a mouthful to say. But when you're the only one on the internet, you're going to keep that piece.
So how do listeners reach out to your website?
All you do is put in a search for Baltzer Meyer Historical Society, and it will come up, and there is, again, only one.
And can they call you?
They can call us, and I believe the number is 724-836-6915.
Okay, yeah, that's what I searched on your website, 724-836-6915, if you want to reach out to Baltzer Meyer Historical Society. Tom, do you need money for the donation for the 501c3?
To start, you need a particular amount if you have nobody who can do the 501 on their own, or if you have to get legal counsel. The other part is maintaining two buildings that we're doing, and they're old buildings. There's a good bit of cost involved. We have about 140 members, but we're looking for members. We have plenty of things to do, from building maintenance to working within the records, doing research if you're good with genealogy. If you're not, we have people who can train you. We also have facilities to be able to do the publishing. And now we have equipment to be able to do digitizing. We can digitize almost any format out there, 35 millimeter slides, photos, negatives, VCR, 8, Super 8 for any of you older folks out there, and just about any other part, we have the equipment for that. We have a very generous donor who's come in and got us some of this equipment. And again, our publishing has just switched over to being purely computerized so that we can put everything into PDF files, which makes them very searchable.
And on another note, what is the most famous collection of artifacts and old newspapers and stuff like that?
Our founder, Paul Ruff, who had been a pastor for the Lutheran Church, had been the one who started us. He also had went to the one-room schoolhouse as a student, but his collection was the biggest one that we've owned. Right now, we are getting parts of another collection from North Carolina, and she has brought us 2/8 of her collection. The last 1/8 was 16 boxes full of notebooks, 3-ring notebooks that are 4 to 5 inches thick, and there were 16 boxes of those. So we can take on quite a size collection. We probably have the better part of 8,000 or 9,000 photographs that have to be completely identified and done. We have file after file of other items, plus the artifacts from homes and barns and things are all in that 12,000 square feet. So we are considering that we have seed money to start the Plischke Memorial Museum, which will highlight those things in the lives of the people in Westmoreland County.
This is very good. You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. Our guest today is Tom Harrold. He is the president of Baltzer Meyer Historical Society. And, it's Baltzer Meyer Historical Society looking for new members and volunteers, and tell us listeners how they can join your organization.
We are always looking for new members. We are looking for anyone between the age of 10 all the way up until past my age, and I've just turned 29.
Yeah, right.
About 3 times. If you can sit and do things, we have plenty of areas for you to work. Again, a library, a publishing department, a digitizing area, plus the fact of a museum. And then we have one other small spot, the church, which is about 2,700 square feet. Our plans are to turn that into a reception hall, banquet hall. We have just now retained an architect to give us renderings for that, and we're going to need to raise about $500,000 to do that renovation and keep that going. So we have plenty of things to do. If you show up, we'll question you until we figure out what you would like to do. We can give you tours anytime. Plus, we do 8 or 9 programs every year on Sunday afternoons, usually at 2 o'clock, and it's usually the 3rd Sunday of each month. Or you can contact us again directly on our website. It has membership papers to fill out, and we can actually take your money online now. We've moved out of the 18th century in some ways.
Well, obviously you are an historical leader. What is the most famous historical thing in Westmoreland County and Hempfield Township from your perspective?
From my perspective, there virtually is 3 of them, but the leader of that is Ligonier. Ligonier had some very interesting pieces of the history of the county and the nation, the same as Bushy Run, and then also Hannistown being the center of the county and operated by the Westmoreland Historical Society. It is a three-part piece. Again, it's because the county is so large and so diverse that you can't point to one particular thing. And if I really had to point to the most famous person we've ever had, it would have been St. Clair. In many ways, he was a hero that's never been recognized for what he did for the county and for the nation.
Well, you brought up the county is so big. We are approximately 125 square miles short of the same size as the state of Rhode Island. And we don't have 2 senators, right? But, I mean, from your perspective, do you provide the meeting halls for not-for-profits to hold presentations for the members of the public?
Yes. In fact, this is a newer factor for us. We just had the Greensburg Civic Theater do some of their rehearsals and are preparing to do some more of those rehearsals at our facilities. We are trying to get SCORE to come in and have meetings there. We are trying to get our membership to have Red Cross come in and do a blood drive there. We really want to become more of a part of the community and being utilized that way. Having that one hall right now allows us to do quite a bit with that, and we are open to any organization that would like to come in there. The nonprofits were very generous as far as that. Businesses, we would like your business, and just to be able to get out into the public. Again, we've been one of the best hidden secrets of Westmoreland County for as long as we've been there.
Well, we need to talk about this after the interview. I want to make sure that we have a chamber bash or a meeting and stuff like that at your facilities.
I believe we already have a breakfast scheduled in June.
Yeah.
So, yes. And again, for any of the businesses out there, we are open for that whole thing for the families. We can have family reunions, and just like any other party, you can sit down in our library for hours and then argue about what Uncle Sam did or what Aunt Martha what her real age was in comparison to the records that you have. We really would like to become that part of the county that we believe we can fill those spots for.
Well, this is the end of the interview. Tom, do you want to have the listeners make sure that they have anything else?
Just that if you would like to become a volunteer, contact us on the webpage, and if nothing else, go out and volunteer somewhere. The county definitely has plenty of things for us to do, and it is your community. Please take care of it.
I thank you very much for your effort to make sure that the residents have the historical background for Westmoreland County. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1. Join us next week, same time, same place, for another edition of Westmoreland Community Connections. Thanks for listening, everyone.
This has been Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings in and around Westmoreland County. Join us again next week on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB.
Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of Citizens Fiber, of Citizens Fiber, of Citizens Fiber, of Citizens Fiber.